Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well, and in today's video I am working on a draw this again of an old piece called Spring. And I initially created this painting because I wanted to create a sort of seasons series. So this was the first portrait of many, and I was hoping that I would do a summer one, an autumn/fall one, and then a winter one. But I never got round to doing the other ones, so Spring ended up being a standalone piece rather than being part of the collection that I was planning. So I thought me sort of like redrawing it now would be the perfect opportunity to finally get around to making the seasons series that I really wanted to make. And that means when summer finally comes around, I can do a summer painting as well, which I'm really excited for. I already have like ideas in my head, but I'm going to keep that to myself for now so I don't spoil anything. I feel like I've really been pushing myself when it comes to digital painting lately. And one thing that has really helped me is Hardy Fowler's class on Skillshare, and that is why I'm really grateful that Skillshare is sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes to choose from, and there are so many different digital art and traditional art classes. I have literally taken classes ranging from super kind of painterly ones like this to very like simplified illustration classes, and I can guarantee you that whatever you're looking for, Skillshare probably has it. I have mentioned in the past that I really like the way that the classes are set up on the platform because you learn through a combination of video lessons which are separated into sort of easy to follow sections, and also there are class projects, and if you scroll down you can see what other students in the class have created as well, which I just think is a really nice touch because it makes it feel more like a learning community. And because Skillshare is specifically a learning platform, there are no ads to distract you from the classes, and it works out to be relatively affordable at less than $10 a month. If you would like to try Skillshare out for yourself, they provided me with a link in the description below which provides you 2 months free so you can test it out for yourself. So if you're curious, I definitely recommend clicking the link down below. So the original painting was made in 2017, so 3 years ago now. I was probably around 17 then at the time, and I'm 20 now, and I would have hoped that in 3 years I would improve a little bit, especially seeing as I have, in the space of 3 years, I have been through every single year of university. I'm literally about to graduate this summer, so I would have hoped that would mean that there would be an improvement, and luckily enough, I do think I have vastly improved since the original drawing. One of the main reasons that I think this was is because I say it at the start of the old Speedpaint, which I don't recommend you watch, by the way, because it's so you can tell from my voiceover that I've not planned what I wanted to say. In the old drawing, I mentioned at the start of the video that I was actually quite surprised that it'd only taken me an hour and a half to complete that drawing. This time around, it took me well over 5 hours, so hopefully you can tell by looking at it that there was a lot more time and effort that went into this piece. I wanted to make sure every single detail felt very like meticulously carried out. Like everything had a purpose. When you look at the original drawing, you kind of just like look at certain aspects of it and you can tell I've rushed it. I sort of mentioned this in my last video a little bit, but I used to hate painting clothes so much. I still don't enjoy painting clothes. I noticed there are certain parts of a painting that I'll get to, and I've sort of grown because I'm like, I don't really want to work on this. But what I found now that more time has passed is that the more you push yourself to work on those things that you don't want to work on, the less hard they get and the more fun they get. That's kind of how I feel about hands, because if you watch any of my old videos, you can tell I'm either hiding the hands or the hands that I've drawn are just not that great. For one, I was not looking at reference, but second of all, I was rushing them and I was not willing to put the effort in. This time around, on every single aspect of this drawing, I've tried to put in the effort. One major improvement I would say that I've made from the last piece is the hair. You look at the old piece and you can just tell that I have no idea how to draw this texture of hair, and I sort of talk about it in my old video, but the inspiration for the original drawing was this really pretty girl I saw on Pinterest with the most amazing hair, and I really wanted to sort of take inspiration from that for my spring piece, and I really don't feel like I did it justice. I remember I posted the original drawing to my Instagram and someone put one of their critiques being, please can you study how to draw this kind of hair, because that's not how like afro hair actually looks. You'll notice throughout the video I'm switching between Procreate, Clip Studio Paint and Paint Tool Slide. I am literally switching between 3 different painting programs, and the main reason for that being I have different brushes on different programs that I like for different things, which makes life really difficult because you do not want to be switching between programs. Ideally, you just use one for everything. Unfortunately, there were different things I needed to do. In Paint Tool Slide, I love it for painting, but when it comes to adding any kind of texture, I feel like it falls flat. Clip Studio Paint has some really nice texture brushes, but most of all, Procreate has some of the best texture brushes that I've ever used, and I basically have the gouache max packs, and the gouache paints gave me this really nice texture which I used on the hair, and I really love how it turned out. And then you'll see later on in the video that I sort of add lots of little tiny like coils to the hair, and I feel like that extra little bit of detail kind of pushed it a little bit further. And if you look at the original piece, her hair sort of like seems to be slicked back from her forehead, and I looked at so many reference pictures of different afros and it made me realize like they do not really work like that wouldn't make sense. And the sheep clips that I put in the old drawing, although they were cute, they would not work in this kind of hair texture, or at least I don't think they would, not in the way that I drew them originally. And the reason that I included them in the original painting was because I wanted to evoke more of a spring feeling, because without them the drawing doesn't really scream spring to me. So that's why I put them in. I messaged Zoe and I said, what do you think of when you think of spring? And she said that she thought of all the new animals being born and things like lambs being born. So I thought I would just put these 2 little hair clips in. They look like Shaun the sheep, honestly. I'm not the biggest fan of this part of the drawing. Like I said, it is cute, but I feel like it just kind of takes away from the like nice soft look I was going for. So this time around I tried to show that it was a spring painting through other ways, and I literally just googled what are birds that are associated with spring, and for some reason a hummingbird came up. That might be incorrect, that they might have nothing to do with spring, but as I started painting it I was like, this is actually just like a nice fun addition. I don't think I've ever painted a bird, not on this channel at least. I didn't really enjoy painting the bird while I was working on it because there was so many little details that I didn't want to do, but the more I stuck with it, the happier I was that I included it. And then one of the final things that I added to the piece was I added some like leaves on some twigs in the foreground because I felt like it was lacking a foreground element, because that was my biggest problem with the old drawing, is looks too flat. It really lacks like a dimension to it. So adding those kind of foreground elements I think helped, made her feel more like there was a little bit more going on. Also, if you notice the shading on the skin, I feel like has improved a lot this time around, and that kind of helps with the dimension as well. And then on top of the leaves I just added this sort of like dewdrop effect, because when I think of morning dew, for some reason it just reminds me of spring. Some of you may be wondering, why didn't you add flowers? Like flowers are like a big thing associated with spring. I tried to draw some flowers over the top and it kind of made the drawing look too busy. There was too much going on and it kind of drew your eyes away from the girl, and one thing I really wanted was for your eyes to be drawn towards her. So that's why the twigs are sort of almost leading your eyes towards her, or at least hopefully they should be. And because they are green, they kind of blend in with the background a little bit. So I feel like they don't distract your eyes too much from the finished portrait, and that is why I was happy to include them. I think the original painting was a nice concept, but the execution wasn't carried out well enough to sort of expand upon that. One of the main problems is that she looks too stiff. You can tell that the shoulders are off, and there's just so many bits that I've just done lazily. There is a reason that the original painting only took me an hour and a half, and that is because it just looks unfinished when you look at it. You can just tell from the way I painted the hair as well that I just had no idea how to approach painting this kind of hair, and I just didn't really bother. And that's one of the things that was annoying me when I was looking back at the old piece. I was looking at it and I was like, it has a potential, but I haven't pushed it as far as it can go. And that is one of the biggest things I wanted to change this time around. So I did try and fix the head angle and the proportions to make her look a lot less stiff. I think I'm really glad that I left it 3 years between the original drawing and now to redraw it. I feel like there's more of a vast difference than if I had redrawn it 1 year later. And I think that's quite interesting to note, because obviously I do my rainbow hair redraw every single year, and sometimes the differences are just so minimal, and I will get people saying, I I really prefer your 2017 one. That's the one I get people say the most. I always get people saying they prefer the 2017 one to like any of the others. And I think when you're doing it every single year, you're not seeing as many jumps in improvement because it's only been a year between the two. Now, that being said, I'm not going to stop with the rainbow hair redraw. I'm going to like try and continue to do that every single year until I physically can't anymore. Just for the pure idea of me being like 80 and redrawing that just makes me laugh so much, and I really want it to happen. So I'm going to try and keep going for as long as I can on that. I just think it's interesting to note. Sometimes it's best to leave it a while and rethink the piece when you're in a different mindset. Me drawing this now, I'm a completely different person to who I was 3 years ago. The way I feel about spring and nature is almost different because I haven't been outside in like a week now. Obviously, with everything going on at the moment, I've been staying inside and I haven't really had the chance to go outside. We do have a garden, but I haven't really been outside all that much. So while I was painting this and thinking about spring and thinking about nature, I was just thinking about how much I want to be outside and how excited I am that it is spring, because that means that summer is coming, and spring just feels like a happy time to me. It feels like good things are coming, and that was the reason that I added the cast light in the original drawing, because I wanted to sort of foreshadow that summer was coming and that the light of summer was coming. And I know that sounds really like cheesy to say. That was one of the things that I really did like about the old piece, is that there was that light showing like a glint of hope. And that's kind of something I feel like we all need right now. We all need a little glimmer of hope in our lives right now. Although that ray of light is kind of executed badly on the old piece, because that kind of like light ray would wrap around the contours of the face, and that's not how I've done it at all. I literally just drew it as like a gradient line. Once again, that just came from a lack of knowledge of how to properly execute that. Whereas this time around, I actually did do something that isn't very realistic. I added this very like glowy sort of rim light to her. It doesn't actually make sense in terms of lighting. Like, I don't think the lighting would actually look like that. I did have a reference image that was kind of similar. I made it very glowy. I just wanted this kind of like magical nature look. If you would like to see more Draw This Again videos soon, please let me know. Interestingly enough, I didn't redraw Changes last year, which is the girl cutting her hair, and that is because I didn't think that I had much to add to that piece last year. But now that it's been 2 years since the last time I redrew that, I think it would be really interesting to revisit that one again, and the time for that is sort of coming up. I normally redraw it around like April time, so if that's something you're interested in seeing, please let me know. I hope you guys are all staying safe, and I hope you're all doing okay, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye guys!